Hi, I'm Andrea and welcome to Productive C#. In this video, I'm going to talk about the in-parameter feature introduced in C# 7.2. C# 7.2 adds some features that allows to work more efficiently with value types, and this is one of those features. I have a console application configured to use the C# 7.2 language. And let's have a look at the code that we have and how we can actually use the in parameters to make the code better. I have a public struct spaceship that actually is a spaceship with a name, a couple of coordinates, and the width and the height. And I have a method that takes two spaceships and return a boolean if the two spaceships collide. Then I have a program that creates two instances of spaceships, the Millennium Falcon and the Enterprise, and then I run the collide method 100 million times, and I measure how long does it takes. All right, so let's try to run it and see what's the result. It's actually building the solution. Now it's running. It takes about 2.54 seconds to run. Okay. Perfect. So when you actually call the spaceship.collide method, what actually happened is that these two parameters are actually copied by value. Right? By default, C# copy by values value types passed to methods. We all know that in C# there's the ref keyword that can be added to the parameters like this, so that instead of passing the parameter by value, you would pass it by reference. You also need to specify ref when you actually call this method. And if I run the code again, you see that now the performance is a lot better. It's 1.4 seconds, so it's basically twice as fast as before. Okay, this is something you were always able to do since the beginning of C#. What C# 7.2 add is basically the ability to use in as a keyword instead of ref. And what does that mean? So you can change this here as well when you call it, is that you still pass the value type as references, but also there is an additional value that is delivering that is not possible to change the parameters that are actually passing the method internally. Like if I do, for example, spaceship1.x equals 10, you see that the compiler say cannot assign to a member of variable in spaceship because it is a read-only variable. So it's basically using the in keyword is like using ref read-only. Basically, if you use ref, there's nothing that guarantees the method to actually change the value of the parameters. While using the in feature, you can have this additional validation from the compiler. And if I run this code, you will see that the performance is about similar to using refs because it's still passing by reference. And the additional advantage of using in is that you don't really need to use in when you actually call the method. Right? So at the call, when you actually call the method, you don't need to use in. You only use it in when you actually define the method itself. So this is actually a very small feature, but it's going to be quite handy when you actually deal with a lot of value types and you want to improve performance and at the same time ensure some validation, especially when there are methods that are actually read-only that don't really need to change the value of the parameters. The other important note I want to mention is that pay attention to measure always performance, because it's not guaranteed that the performance is necessarily better. So I believe honestly that the in parameter feature is not only about performance, but is specifically about the fact that it enforces some additional validation to avoid changing the parameters. So I think that's one of the biggest value of the in parameter. The reason why it's called in is because it's actually complementary to out. That's another keyword that you can use that allows methods to return additional values. So it's actually complementary to our keyword. So it just kind of makes sense to use that name. And this is it. Thank you very much for watching.